our membership, monthly membership meeting. Um, each month, the fourth Saturday of the month, we conduct what we call a general membership meeting. What that means is that we have our executive committee meeting. The officers meeting is the fourth Tuesday of the month, and then our general membership meeting, we open up to come and talk with the general membership, people who have, uh, per the bylaws, technically it's the folks who have memberships with our branch. The executive team uh, meets with them monthly, and we have at Maricopa, we've decided to make it more inclusive. So we actually call it membership/community meeting so that we can engage with all the members in the community that wants to join us. And we try to make it informative, and therefore this month our focus is on arts and advocacy. Um, Art as a method for advocacy. And we are very pleased to have with us as our presenters today. We're going to start with Miss Verna Hamilton Washington, since she's, um, just kind of comes and goes, from Phoenix over to Oregon. So
A jet setter.
the jet setter. And Miss Hamilton Washington is, I'm pretty sure, a fully paid life membership, I believe, for our branch. Fully paid life member, and we thank her for that. And she, even though she's a jet setter and she goes from all over the place, she still is always there supporting our activities in the Maricopa County branch. So we thank you for that. Miss Verna Hamilton Washington is a retired educator and school librarian. She holds master's degrees in education and public administration from Arizona State University. And she also serves as a volunteer tutor and reading specialist for other community programs when she's here, right? When the weather's cool enough for her. So we want to thank you for being with us and presenting today. And our other presenter is Miss Princess Lucas Wilson, who also is an educator. She is also the third vice president for the Maricopa County branch. And I also want to mention that the Maricopa County branch, for those who know, and for those who may not know, and for those as a reminder who already know, the Maricopa County branch is the uh, longest standing branch in Arizona, and it is the largest branch. It's Maricopa County, so we do our best to serve constituents throughout the county. Some of you may hear about, well, West Valley or East Valley or Flagstaff. So rightfully so, based on the name, that's the area they serve. So the Maricopa County branch established in 1919 and is the largest branch statewide in Arizona. So Ms. Princess Lucas Wilson is our third vice president. She also supervises, chairs, chairs the Public Safety and Legal Redress Committee for us. She has master's degrees in social work and a certificate in public management. She has worked as a therapist, social work practitioner, a manager, and administrator in both the public and private sectors. She continues to serve as a professor in higher education. She also conducts community forums related to public safety and other civil rights issues. And we are happy that both of you are here to talk with us about art as a way of advocacy. So, and just a cursory note, right? Call to action, say a call to action is that we all understand the extreme need for all types of advocacy as our democracy is very fragile and very um, un under attack right now. So with that, I'll turn it over to Miss Hamilton Washington and Princess Lucas Wilson. Thank you. And we'll have time for Q&A at the end, I believe. Yes. Okay.
Princess, did you want me to go first, or do you want to go second, or?
I was just gonna review the order just now.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
All right. Yeah, what we have planned for you today is to my agenda here is to start off by framing our topic, which I will do, and Verna will give the historical foundations related to art, activism, and advocacy, and talk about some literature, books, poetry, etc. And then we'll end with some information about music that has motivated civil rights efforts over the years. And then we will end with a question segment where there's 4 questions that have been written for your reflection. And just to briefly let you know what those are, and I will share them at the end of the meeting. So for reflection during our presentation, the questions are, how does art communicate messages traditional politics cannot? The second question is, which medium do you feel has the strongest impact, and why the strongest impact on activism and advocacy? Can art create lasting policy change, do you feel, or mainly cultural change? And the last question, are there risks when art becomes activism? So that's our structure for the day. And we will go forward. Hi, Juanita. Nice to see you. Okay. So when I was asked to develop and lead our community membership meeting today, I chose the topic of art, activism, and advocacy. And the reason why I chose that topic is hopefully it'll inspire us to continue to fight for our civil rights and to not get too discouraged in today's climate, and to reflect on how art over the years has brought us through much worse situations. And also because I've witnessed the power of art and how it can be transformative. And briefly, my late husband was an artist and an activist. And just one example of that is he was instrumental in starting First Fridays downtown that you see now, that's grown into like a huge event with numerous spaces for creative expression, community connection, activism, and advocacy. So I'd like to just share some key ideas related to art and the NAACP's role with art, role partnership, support related to art. And the key ideas are that visual arts, when we think about murals, banners, street art, performance art, protest, theater, music, web-based projects, and etc., have been used throughout history in various forms to move societies closer to justice and equity in the following ways. Art is used to challenge power systems. Art is used to make the vulnerable visible. Art serves as a catalyst for empathy and human connection. Art focuses on community-based practices, promoting a collective voice and collaboration. Art reinterprets historical memory and narrative to challenge what is seen as official narratives, which are often negative, regarding race, labor, and democracy. Visual arts uses media and social media to transform art into global symbols, and we've seen a recent example of that with the Black Lives Matter movement. So to set our discussion is to give some thought to ways to bridge art and action to address some of our most pressing social justice and civil rights issues. To share a bit of information about the NAACP's relationship and partnership with art. The NAACP has long used art as a powerful tool to advance social justice, equity, and civil rights. Its connection to arts spans more than a century and includes literature, music, film, visual arts, and public performances. Some of the ways the NAACP has demonstrated the arts as a powerful tool has been the NAACP has played a central role in amplifying Black artists' voices during the Harlem Renaissance. The magazine The Crises published poetry, short stories, essays, and Black writers. Figures like Langston Hughes and Zora Neale Hurston gained visibility through NAACP platforms. The arts were used to challenge racist stereotypes, which a lot of us on the call are old enough to remember some that were really profound. And it served Black identity and dignity. And of course, the Image Awards, which is a week-long program that honors artists in various capacities. And the NAACP has consistently pressured Hollywood and media industries to combat discrimination. The NAACP recognizes artists as key voices, musicians, writers, etc. And when we speak specifically about certain artists, there's others. Nina Simone, Kendrick Lamar, and the NAACP often partners with artists for campaigns and public awareness. We've seen that. And the NAACP supports arts education for youth expression through local units and chapters. We have an AXO program, and that program encourages young people to explore identity, history, and activism through creative work. Art competitions, spoken word events, and theater are used to build civic engagement. And the NAACP contributes to preserving African American cultural history. It supports museums, exhibitions, and public art that document civil rights struggles. The NAACP, its collaborations with institutions like the Smithsonian Institute help ensure that Black artists' contributions are recognized. Just basically overall, the NAACP its connection to art is not just supportive, it treats artistic expression as a core strategy for shaping public opinion, preserving culture, and advancing civil rights. And now Verna will speak about some historical foundations related to art, activism, and advocacy.
Well, thank you, Princess. I'm going to go through my lecture notes, and if I get a little boring, don't fall asleep. I'm going to be okay. Literature reflecting social justice. For those of us who are readers, we have encountered writings by authors who have shared their experiences, perspectives, issues affecting our community. The literature may be in the form of poetry, novels, or even commentaries. The use of literature may be a bridge to connect individuals to social justice issues, motivate some to take action, or to provide an opportunity for individuals to use their voices. During this exploration of the impact of literature on social justice issues, I will identify some social issues, authors, and some of their works. Historically, one can examine the writings of slave narratives, the Harlem Renaissance period from the 20s to the 30s, the Civil Rights Movement from the 50s to the 60s, as well as contemporary writers of today. African American literature primarily speaks to three themes. One, historical fight for racial justice and equality. Two, how systemic racism impacts our community. And third, how our people have fostered resistance and developed resilience in spite of these oppressive actions. Some concerns reflected in literature highlight the impact of slavery, segregation, police brutality, and even mass incarceration. The impact of racism on the African American community runs from healthcare to employment to education to housing. You may be aware that the Harlem Renaissance was a culture movement that came out of Harlem, New York, a wonderful neighborhood. It was there that African American writers, musicians, and artists emerged. An example of writers from this time period, of course, Langston Hughes, Zora Neale Hurston, who wrote of our experiences in this United States. This influence continued into the civil rights time period with writings documented injustice. W.E.B. Du Bois and Richard Wright also influenced these writings and also documented the injustice that took place during this time period. And also, W. Du Bois from NAACP participated in the organization of activities to help our community. Fortunately, African American writers continue today to explore contemporary issues, social consciousness, while keeping the tradition of storytelling. There are themes which continue to resonate in their writings. There are strong reflections to identify, survive, the legacy of racism, and a search for our dignity as a people. African American writers such as James Baldwin, who wrote books and essays on racism and inequality he experienced in this country. Many of his writings are considered classics now in American literature and a true reflection of how racism affected our community. Langston Hughes, known for his poetry, also wrote of his African American experience. His poems, like example, The Negro Speaks of Rivers, is an example of how the African American experience he had as a boy and also how it shaped his experience in this country as well as his culture. He was only 17 years old when he wrote this poem in 1920. And if you look at the book Beloved, or some people say Beloved, published in 1987 by Toni Morrison, this is a story that's strongly rooted in the historical brutality of slavery in the United States. This book also reflects how African Americans were dehumanized and the psychological impact and scars of slavery. The Civil Rights Movement intensified the revolution of African American literature. Writings during this time period continued to celebrate Black identity, identify social injustice, and demand our equality as well as dealing with political challenges. Again, writers such as Ralph Ellison, best known for Invisible Man, and Lorraine Lansbury, best known for Raisin in the Sun, used their writings to expose the realities of living Black or African American in America. These writings and writings by others challenged white Americans also to see that they were a part of the problem and could be a part of the solution. African American writers like Nikki Giovanni and Amari Baraka used their voice to advocate for social and political change. There are many contemporary writings by African American authors that continue to address social issues of today. In the book The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas, she tackles systemic racism as well as police brutality. Poet Claudine Rankine, known for a poetry that tackles race and violence and trauma, in her work Citizen, an American Lyric, was the winner of the National Book Award of Poetry in 2014. African American writers have shaped and influenced the character of American literature while challenging how injustice still occurs in this country. Their words become our voices, our histories, our truths. In the times we are now living, It is most critical that our writings continue, especially with the whitewashing of our history. These writings should be celebrated because they promote pride, cultural identity, appreciation of our vernacular language, oral traditions, and self determination. African American literature continues to evolve with new authors, addressing challenges while building on traditions these other authors had established. Writers like Jasmine Ward to Colson Whitehead. These contemporary authors demonstrate the literary tradition remains a vital part and is essential to our community. Jason Reynolds is as a best-selling author, and he writes a lot of young adult fiction. And he wrote books like The Long Way Down and Ghost. His writings tend to focus on Black youth experiencing systemic racism, poverty, and violence. One of his quotes is, "If you are neutral in situations of injustice, you have chosen the side of the oppressor." Colson Whitehead, his Pulitzer writing novel, The Underground, he also wrote Nickel Boys, which is actually based upon a real event that took place at Dozier School for Boys in Florida. And his statement was that we must believe in our souls that we are somebody, that we are significant, that we are worthful, and we must walk the streets of life every day with a sense of dignity and the sense of somebodyness. Now, Tanae, I always say this name, Ta-Nehisi Coates gained popular in 2008 when he wrote Between the World and Me. He wrote that in 2015. That book was actually a personal letter he wrote to his son because he wanted his son to understand the realities of what it was like to, or is like, to be African American in America. This book went on to win a National Book Award in 2015. And I loved his quote: "Racism is not merely a simplistic hatred. It is more often broad sympathy towards some and a broader skepticism toward others." The bottom line is that Black authors have shaped the soul of American literature while challenging how people understand, approach, and view injustice. From Baldwin's truth to Coates' clear messages, their words have told important stories that would otherwise have been faded into history or even denied into history. In conclusion, the intersection of literature and social justice is a powerful one, particularly in the context of African American sociology. Literature is a reflection of societal issues that affect us, our communities. Literature provides a platform for our voices to be heard and our stories to be told in truth. Through literature, authors can share their experiences, their perspectives, our perspectives, and our insights into issues that affect all of us. They also can help bring aware awareness about the social injustice issues, and then these same writings can mobilize people to take action.
Okay. Thank you, Verna. That was very informative and also just a great reminder of how the arts, including literature, poetry, writings, opinions, etc., help to frame our experiences not only in a more realistic way, but also helps to motivate us to move forward. So thank you for all that great, wonderful information. Moving on to art as the message, just reflecting on a few of the songs that have brought us through challenging times. We Shall Overcome, is really well known. Kendrick Lamar, We're Gonna Be All Right, in terms of current day. People Get Ready, Keep Your Eyes on the Prize, etc. And just here in Phoenix, when we kind of look at public spaces, every time I go in the downtown Phoenix area and other areas as well, there's more and more murals. And there's also mural maps if you want to view the different murals. And many of them have social justice issues. And when we talk about films, some examples are Just Mercy, Selma, Hidden Figures, and the Maricopa County branch of the NAACP partners with the High of Scottsdale every year to do a Black Film Festival. And we've been a part of facilitating and discussions related to all three of those films, and I'm sure you can think of other films. So, Verna, did you want to share any more about recommended readings?
Oh, yes, I did. Just a
Okay.
few things. I don't want to take up too much time.
No.
I want to talk about things. Of course, a lot of people are familiar with Maya Angelou,
Mhm.
James Baldwin, Toni Morrison. Although she can be real deep, her books are really a lot of historical references. If you have
Mhm.
not read Ralph Ellison, Invisible Man, it's one to revisit and to read again. Please read the World books by Bell Hooks. She did This Ain't Our Woman, her about her thesis. Of course, Toni Morrison, Richard Wright, Langston, Colson Whitehead, Jason Reynolds, Angie Thomas, things such as also Jasmine Ward. I mentioned her. And I wanted to recommend a couple of books. I know Princess and I read these books in the last couple of months. One is Happy Land, and the other one is Judge Stone. The reason I bring up Happy Land is because many of our people, our ancestors, had land that was stolen from them, or land was taken illegally through either say they owned taxes, did not pay taxes, and they lost property. Happy Land is an historical fiction book, but it actually goes into what happens when communities decide to move on and build their own communities, which they did. And that was documented. And these people actually lost their property, not because they didn't do what they were supposed to do, they actually was probably taken illegally
Mhm.
from there. And that actually took place in the history of our people throughout this country.
Mhm.
And then another book that recently came out with Judge Stone, which is a collaboration with Viola Davis and James Patterson. The reason I bring that book up is because it deals with social issues of power, influence, political activism. We have a judge, African American woman on the bench dealing with controversial cases, but yet she's steeped in tradition of the law and also able to interpret the law and grant sentences. And what happens to her in her own community as to how she's subjugated to mistreatment, even though she's a judge, but also she's able to eventually render a verdict. And actually, she has to run within that district actually for reelection, and she is reelected. But it goes to the whole different levels of racism and
Mhm.
also sexism and the dehumanizing of this individual who actually was elected to handle the law and how she's mistreated by the law itself. So
Mhm.
I would recommend. There's so many books to read. It's
Right.
just there's collections that I just think it's important not only to read yourself, but if you have children, nieces, nephews, to encourage them to read and also give them books with people that look like themselves and that can tell our stories to them. They don't have to be at a high level for adults, but I recommend that you look at and expand the library for your children, nieces and nephews, and grandchildren, etc.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Verna. I'm going to attempt to share my screen and put the questions up. We'll see if this works.
While you're doing that, may I ask a question, Princess? And it may not, it may relate to one of your questions, but Miss Verna, would you repeat one of the authors you talked about? You said made a statement to say those folks who don't uh, make a decision for the opposition.
Was
Said it a
that
little more eloquent than I did. Mhm.
okay? It probably was the one by
He said he was wrote to a younger
Young.
audience, a
Yes,
younger
that
audience.
is
Ta-Nehisi Coates.
it was
Yep.
Coates or it was Jason Reynolds.
Oh, Jason
Jason
Reynolds.
Reynolds,
Jason Reynolds stated, if you are neutral in situations of injustice, you have
neutral.
chosen
Okay.
the side of the oppressor.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Powerful
Uh-huh.
and
And
true.
I think that's so it's so accurate and it's so I think that's one of the reasons when we discuss or just the strategy of when we talk about uh the dismantling of democracy, the importance of us not only talking to people who think the same way we do, but trying to talk to to people who have opposite thoughts that we have related to what does inclusiveness mean and what does democracy mean, you know, to help them understand, and our friends who, are independent, or, helping them understand that, like, I agree. Well, I guess I'm saying I agree with Mr. Reynolds' statement. It's like if you are independent, or if you are neutral, then you help folks who want to dismantle democracy by not speaking up and taking a stance. Yeah. Or folks who say, "Oh, I'm not political." You can't live without being. I mean, you may not speak up about it, but it affects you. So,
Yeah, affects your daily life.
yeah.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Harden. Well, I've put the questions up for our consideration and, to help us kind of reflect on the topic. So I shared them earlier, but they're posted here. So if anyone would like to comment on one of the questions, give us your ideas, your thoughts. If the questions cause you to remember something or something resonated with you, please share that with us.
Hi,
Hi, T.
I am Florence. Thank
Good.
thank you for the great presentation, Brenda, and the information from you, Princess. My, I wanted to go into question one. So the communication of the message through art, it is an important one. And as you mentioned, with the art, as far as literature, Myrna, we read the stories. We get to understand the stories of the people that they're writing to. So that's important. But also there's the visual art. And some people are just visual learners, and they have to see something in order for it to click. And with the visual arts, say like your husband, Larry did, Princess, he sent the message with his pictures, his art that he drew and colored and painted. And we can stand and look at it even now and understand what he was trying to emote to us with that artwork. So it's important. And then the poetry, that's the spoken word now that so many young people have um, gone into, and they are interested because it gives them a feeling they get from hearing the words spoken to them in the poetry. So we can't discount anything as far as written, drawn, spoken, because they're all giving a story of some type, and we need it, particularly in these times. We have to connect with everybody on every level. You know how they say meet people where they are? That's what art does. It meets people wherever they are, whichever mode that they dwell in, or helps them to get the message. That's what we have to do at this point in time.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, T. Yeah, all very important points. And, it takes everything, especially in these times, art-wise and otherwise. Written word, whatever, visual art, everything. Performances, plays, films, everything. So thank you, T. All right. Anyone else? Anyone else wanting to talk about one of the questions or any other thoughts you have?
I have another thought that would be interesting, a different, anybody's perspective.
Mhm.
Verna, one of the authors you talked about, number one, if you remember who said it, I didn't catch that, but said that we must believe in our soul that we are someone. Um, and my question to anybody on the, joining us the conversation is, how do we, how is that created? How do we, how do we help an individual believe in their soul that they are someone? Does that just happen? Or how does that come about?
I think that's nurtured. You have nurture versus nature. And that was by Colson Whitehead, who's made that statement about
Coast Whitehead?
Colson
Mm-hmm.
Whitehead, that we must believe in our souls we are somebody in the sense of dignity, but we have to nurture that within ourselves and nurture it also within our children, our own communities. We just can't assume that they're going to get it through osmosis. You go to a school, there may not be anyone who looks like you there who really identifies with you and really supports you being there. You have to have some sense of connection to and identify, I think, the people who look like you and who have your best interests at heart. And like I said, whether you have children by birth or children by somebody dropped them off your doorstep, we have a responsibility to nurture our community and nurture one another and support one another. And I think the soul is nothing's worse than a broken soul, and nothing's worse than a person that has no soul. And we have to give that and instill that and build that and develop that in our children, in ourselves as adults. So, because we have a lot of broken adults, they're broken. The system has repeatedly entrenched into a belief that we can't succeed, entrenched in a belief that no matter what I do, I can't get ahead, entrenched in the belief no matter what I do, I'm not going to be valued as an individual, respected as a human being, or treated like a human being. So we have broken people that we have to also heal, broken adults. And a broken adult has a hard time helping a child develop that sense of soul and nurture that in a child in our own communities. And so we have to support one another's I say from the birth to the grave. We have a
Yeah.
we can't stop. We just can't stop. We just can't.
Yeah, and I would add to that, the nurturing part, in the home. Not everyone has that, but I would add to that, we need to protect our souls because there's a lot out there in the world that gives messages in terms of who's worthy, who's equal, who's not, etc. And even if it's subtle, it can have an effect um, on, your child, or, if you have a home life where you are very nurturing and very affirming, um, you know, even at the grocery store, you could have you could have some kind of an encounter. So just protect your soul, and there's various ways to do that. Some people there's prayer, meditation, most of all self-care. Self-care to me is a form of resistance, and it's a response to all of the darts and arrows we may experience, related to our just mere existence. So we need to protect our souls. That's what I would add. Okay. Anybody else? We call on people like in college or classroom.
I want to say that the foundation is laid at home.
Mm-hmm.
I know that I've been out before and I've heard parents cursing at their children and demeaning them out in public. And that right there, that just takes the child down another notch and another notch.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to build that back up when they're hearing those words towards them from their own parent who
Right.
loves them, supposedly.
Right.
So children remember that, and that is ingrained in them in their soul. And it's hard to recover from that kind of degrading from someone that's supposed to be your parent, love, care, you know, teach you, set the foundation for you. It's very difficult. So having worked in the school system myself as a, you know, as a school counselor, it was hard to get the message across to the children who were hearing those negative messages at home. That you are somebody, you can do this work, you are more than where you started from. You can do more, you can do better. And it's hard for them to, it's almost like a mixed message. You're hearing one thing at home and then you're trying to instill something else into them that they haven't been used to hearing. It's very difficult. So as you said, for instance, guarding your soul is so important because we don't know where children are coming from, what their background is. But we can see the effect of it a lot of times.
Yeah, and it's hard to turn that around in terms of parents. I've taught parenting classes, you know, trying to address some of those issues. A lot of those parents, that's the way they were spoken to, or they're so beaten down for various reasons that, you know, they take out their frustrations on their children. So yeah, all of
That
them.
it is generational.
Mm-hmm.
I can stop that.
Yeah, yeah. So thank you, T. Did I hear Patrick? Did you say something, Patrick? Or maybe I didn't hear.
I do have a question.
Okay. Hi, Maisha.
Hi. So my question is, we actually know where it's coming from as far as these parents not knowing how to nurture their kids, probably something that they didn't get when they were younger. But how do we correct it in the kids that we work with or in the young people that we're around that we see it in now? So how do you nurture, for some people that don't know what that even means, how do you nurture young adults who have experienced some things as young children that weren't very nurturing at all?
And lots of encouragement, being positive. One question, work with a lot of troubled families. We used to ask families, you know, even in therapy, what is your dream? You know, sometimes you can use that as a kind of foundation and start a conversation in terms of their goals, and then, you know, like positive messages and comments in terms of you can do that, or, you know, give them ideas on how to do that, and ask them, um, you know, what they need, and basically focusing on not what's wrong with you, but what happened to you. A lot of treatment has moved past focusing on what's wrong with people and those kind of models, and looking at strengths. So the fact that maybe the child even got to school in with a certain home environment is almost a miracle. Just try to kind of build on the strengths. And I know we all have our ideals of what success is and what we want for everybody, but you have to meet them where they are. And so, you know, their success might be maybe just coming to school with clean clothes on one day, or, you know, wherever they are, and just build from that. Anybody else?
I want to talk a little about the medium. Do you feel has the strongest impact, and why? I'm not going to say it has the strongest, but I really want to go back to Kendrick Lamar when he did the Super Bowl performance.
Yeah,
and there was so much historical information in that performance. He went through from beginning to end, beginning of this country all the way to current events, and some people didn't get it, but by using those symbolisms and the music, there were a lot of young people who talked and discussed it. The older people, I say older, I'm gonna put people like, I'm put you above 40, 50, were able to catch some of the different concepts that he had in his presentation, the whole Super Bowl performance. But when he came out there, we know with with that Americana stuff and all these flags and the different music and symbolism. It was powerful. And a lot of young people really, really went into deep discussion about the history and why those things were displayed in the Super Bowl and the message that he had in it. It was a powerful Super Bowl. It was one of the best ones, first I had ever seen, but it was also symbolic in that he talked about America and he talked about these different iconic symbols that they use to present Americana like for everybody else, but not for everybody else. And so it fostered a conversation. And I also want to talk about art murals because you have a lot of young people who have created art murals. When they're creating them, they find out what the history is behind the murals. Some just think they're painting, but they realize, you know what, I'm painting a history, a story.
Mhm.
And that part of
Yeah,
it is
that's
really
right.
good because then you have a combination of adults and young people. When I say young people, looking at their late teens and their early 20s that are just starting out, that are actually connecting and finding out what's going on. So I think it depends on the medium. You know, you can talk about your books and you talk about your art, but I know music is crosses the board generational and everything. And with these art murals, it's wonderful to see the history in the art murals and then have a young person talk about how they participate and what the art mural means.
Mhm. Okay, yeah. Yeah, that was a powerful performance. He's very deep. Yeah. Okay, anyone else?
I kind of agree. I'm probably agreeing with Verna in a sense that I'm just thinking maybe music. I mean, Kendrick Lamar was, I don't know if you say rap or whatever, but it was still music. I'm going to use the genre of music
Mhm.
uh, because I think the question is, which medium do you feel has the strongest impact and why? I
Mhm.
think it's music because it can be more easily translated or listened to, or, we go back to the slave songs in the field. Um, and you may not always be in a place where you can go see a piece of art or view a mural, but I guess I would select music only because it seems like it's more transportable.
Okay.
Uh, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And even okay, now Miss Hamilton Washington talked about people over 50 or something like that. But so the from what I've heard, right? You look at the lyrics, and music can be so powerful because for me, I can uh, compare lyrics of, let's say, Motown in the 60s versus lyrics of the maybe 80s, 70s, 80s, 90s rappers, and what messages were delivered through music, and how that's changed our values and how people approach things. And maybe now you have Kendrick Lamar type rappers, hopefully swinging back to more what I consider more wholesome values or messages. And it's still all music, so
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
It's all music.
And I
Mm-hmm.
guess I put a value judgment in there about some of the
Yeah, you did. You
rappers.
said wholesome. You said wholesome.
And
Yeah.
I was gonna say I don't know too much about Kendrick Lamar. Maybe everybody else does. I did see him perform the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
But just FYI, I saw the other day that he's coming here and performing with the Phoenix Symphony,
Oh,
Hmm.
okay, good.
which I thought was interesting. Well, it's Kendrick Lamar and Stravinsky,
Wow.
Oh,
and it's May
cool.
29th and 30th, and the tickets are really reasonable. So
Oh, I
I don't know
might
if
go.
anybody was interested, but
Wow.
yeah,
Yeah, I might go.
Oh,
Yeah.
I wish I could go.
Yeah.
That's what you
yeah.
get for being a jet setter.
So just
Hmm.
FYI.
Okay, thank you. I might go to that. Thank you.
And
Okay.
I don't know if the tickets look like they have been selling, so I don't know. I don't think too many people probably know about it, but yeah. So,
Yeah. Thank you, Juanita.
mhm.
Well, someone to go and let me know.
Okay.
I
All
think
right.
Dr. Harden mentioned about music being probably the art that most everybody can connect to. And
Mm-hmm.
I just saw this video where children learn math really easily when they're sung to or when they hear it in lyrics, the math work.
Mhm.
And it was the teacher doing that with her class, and the kid, I mean, she rapped it, but the
Oh.
children were rapping right along with her. So
Hmm.
I remember that even when I was back in school, I always would sing my stuff to, my work to myself. And that was a way for it to be ingrained in my brain. I haven't done it. But I remember those two things. And so what you say about music, it does bring that to you. And also, whenever I hear We Shall Overcome, that just wells up in my spirit. And I just think, wow, our foremothers, they came so far, and here we are, still in those fights that they fought and they won. And
Yeah, one. Mm-hmm.
like square one,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like
connects all really it does.
it's like Marvin Gaye said years ago, "What's going on?" And that song is just more relevant today than it was when he put it in the 70s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That I mean, it's
Prophetic.
that's a powerful message in that album, but that song is just as strong, the words
Right.
that he when he did it then as it is today. Yes.
Mhm. Well, before we end, I would like for us to think about number 3. Can art create lasting policy change or mainly just cultural change? What do y'all think?
I think that art creates cultural change.
Mm-hmm.
It can influence policy change.
Okay.
But the way the question is worded, can art
Create
create, I don't think
lasting.
lasting
Lasting.
policy change.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, mhm. I think it definitely influences cultural change,
Mm-hmm.
and the cultural change leads to policy changes
Mm-hmm.
once the majority gets on board, like going back to Kendrick Lamar, I the you had a variety of audiences paying attention to things that they probably hadn't thought about before, right? Which can influence cultural shifts and lead to policy change, hopefully. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
I did something flashed on the screen that said there's a comment in the chat, but while sharing my screen, I can't see it. Can anyone else see the comment in the chat?
It was a comment about the Kendrick Lamar.
Okay.
Oh, I'll tell you something.
Actually, it's just the information about. I just sent that about his concert. So, in
Oh,
case
okay.
anyone's interested, yeah,
Oh, okay, Juanita. Thank you.
yeah. And I'll just forward the email to you.
Okay, that'd be
Okay.
great. Okay. Are there risks when art becomes activism?
Under this present administration, there is.
Mm-hmm.
Example is the Smithsonian Museums that we used to just have one Smithsonian, which took you days to go through. Now you have the African American Museum, you have a Latino thing, you have a China, one with Asian, and because it has become a place where people can revisit their history and see the progress made by themselves as a people, it has been intimidating to some people as a threat.
Mhm.
But I also think people are still holding on and not telling all their business, so the museum is still in existence.
Mhm.
But I think it can become there. Everything has a risk.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
Everything has there's different levels of risk, but everything has a risk. I do believe.
Mhm.
You're a risk when you drive on streets of Phoenix.
Oh, absolutely.
Everything has a risk, but we have to determine where you are as far as how much you can risk. But I think it does. People criticize your writings. People going to criticize your music, criticize your art.
Mhm.
But if it's honest and truthful and a reflection of what really is taking place, then it needs to be published. It needs to be out there.
Mhm. And if we just look at comedy, talk show hosts, jokes, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
Stephen Colbert got canceled after 11 years, even though he had top ratings. So, that's one recent example. The types of jokes now can get you some attention you don't want.
Mm-hmm.
Can I tell you, even back in the day, though, some of the songs, like I remember NWA had some
Oh,
songs
yeah.
about the police, and at that
Mhm.
time, police brutality was really, really bad.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, they had some severe consequences. So it's
Yeah.
not just
Yeah.
under this administration.
Yeah, you're right,
You're
Maisha.
right.
Hmm. Yeah, I remember that. All right. I think it's 2:04. Dr. Harden, did you have anything else? I don't want to keep people beyond their scheduled time and their day
Well, I just
long.
thank you very much. Thank you for those who called. It's the power of one, right? Um, we don't want to be discouraged because we didn't have 100 people on the call, but you know, the power of one. We just have to believe that we can keep passing on the information
Mhm.
and come back the fourth Saturday in July. Every month we try to talk about advocacy or what we can do, to make sure we have a democratic society. And we also have the weekly listserv that lets people know what information what things we're engaged in. Thank you very much. Very, very, very informative. Very information was very informative. Thank you to both of you. It's recorded, and I'm going to talk with Patrick about making sure to try to get it posted, the information posted on our website, so folks who weren't here today can at least. I think we have a use. Patrick will correct me if I'm misspeaking, but we also have a YouTube channel. So the information will be loaded on our YouTube channel. So thank you very much for the information and the participation. And remember that we want to support voter empowerment, voter opportunities, deny voter suppression, because that's a way also that art lives on, as people have to be able to have the freedom of expression.
Mhm.
Okay, so thank you very much. And unless any of you have a closing comments, I will just say thank you for joining us and hope to see you again on another monthly call.
Yeah, and also I'd like to thank everyone for joining.
Mhm. Okay, cool. All righty. See you at the uh, Phoenix Symphony, everyone. All right. Okay.
Okay, don't jump up on the stage. Don't jump up.
All right. Have a
All
great
right.
afternoon
Okay.
and Memorial Day weekend, everyone.
Bye
All right.
bye.
Bye bye
Bye-bye.
now.